Welcome to the Deep Dive, everybody. You know, you guys shared a piece about reinvention, and I thought it was perfect timing because we're all starting to think about, how we're going to end the year strong.
Right.
I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like I'm on autopilot this time of year, just going through the motions. But this piece really spoke to me. It's all about, using these last few months of the year to really make some serious upgrades.
Yeah.
And not waiting for the new year to hit. I think we're going to find some real gems in here.
I think so too, yeah. This is about a mindset shift.
Yeah.
It's really embracing that idea that you can actually actively shape your life.
Right.
And start right now, reinvention in this context. It's less about becoming a completely different person and more about just intentionally evolving into a better version of yourself.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
Okay, so where do we even begin with this whole reinvention thing?
Well, the piece jumps right into the importance of belief, believing in your own potential. It argues that real change starts from within. If you don't believe you can achieve something, you're much less likely to even try.
Yeah, it's like setting yourself up for failure before you even begin.
Exactly. And here's where it gets interesting. The source doesn't just tell you to believe in yourself.
Right.
It gives you a tool to actually strengthen that belief. Visualization.
Yeah, visualization. I've heard about that before, but I'm not sure I've ever really done it right. What's their take on it?
It's about more than just vaguely wishing for things. The source really emphasizes getting super specific with your vision.
Okay.
It's like creating a mental movie, a detailed picture of your ideal life. Think about it. If you were directing a film about your best possible self, what would that film look like?
Ooh, that's a great way to think about it. Okay, so picture this. I wake up feeling energized and ready to tackle the day. I'm crushing it at work. But it doesn't feel like work. It's actually fulfilling. And then I'm spending quality time with people I love, laughing, having deep conversation.
You're getting it. The source highlights the power of engaging all your senses in this visualization. Don't just see it, feel it, hear it, smell it. Make it a truly immersive experience for your mind. The more vivid it is, the more your subconscious starts to accept it as a possibility.
It's almost like tricking your brain into believing it's already happening.
That's the idea. And it's backed by some pretty cool science.
Oh, really?
Studies have shown that when we visualize something vividly, our brains actually fire neurons in a similar pattern, as if we were physically doing the action. So you're not just daydreaming, you're priming your brain for success.
That's so cool. Okay, so we've got the mindset down, believing in ourselves and creating that crystal clear vision of our future selves.
Right.
But how do we actually get from point A to point B? Does the source address that?
It absolutely does. And it brings up a concept that I find fascinating. Keystone habits.
Keystone habits? I've never heard of that. What are those?
Think of it this way. Imagine you're building an archway. The keystone is that central stone at the top. That holds the whole structure together. Keystone habits are like that. They're foundational habits that once in place have a ripple effect, creating positive change in multiple areas of your life.
So they're not just any old habit. They're the heavy hitters.
Exactly. And what's cool is that the source doesn't prescribe a one-size-fits-all approach. It gives you examples, but it emphasizes finding the keystone habits that work for you.
Okay, like what kind of examples?
Well, they highlight exercise as a potential keystone habit for many people. Think about it. Regular exercise. It doesn't just improve your physical health.
Right.
It boosts your mood, increases energy levels, helps you sleep better, and can even improve your focus and creativity.
Wow, that's a lot more than just getting a six-pack.
Right. And all of those benefits can then spill over into other areas of your life, work, relationships, even your overall sense of well-being. Suddenly, you're more productive, more patient, more positive, all because you implemented that one keystone habit.
That's incredible. But where do we even begin with finding our own personal keystone habit? Do they give us any clues?
Yes. They suggest starting small and focusing on something achievable. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Choose one habit, commit to it. And once it becomes second nature, then you can add another.
Okay, I'm starting to see the picture here. We've got the vision, the belief, and now we're identifying these powerful keystone habits. What's the next step in this reinvention roadmap?
This is where it gets really practical. The source emphasizes the importance of creating systems.
Systems. What do they mean by that?
Think of it like this. Your goals are the destinations you want to reach, and systems are the roadmaps that guide you there. It's not enough to just have a destination in mind. You need a clear path to get there.
So it's not just about willpower. It's about setting ourselves up for success.
Precisely. And the source offers some really tangible examples of how to build these systems. For instance, let's say your goal is to read more books.
Well, that's definitely on my list. What kind of system could I build for that?
Well, the source suggests making books more visible in your living space. Instead of hiding them away in a bookshelf, keep a few on your coffee table or your nightstand.
So it's about removing those barriers to action.
Exactly. It's about creating an environment that nudges you towards your desired behavior. Another example they give is for healthier eating. If you want to reduce your junk food intake, the source recommends simply removing those tempting snacks from your pantry. Out of sight, out of mind.
It sounds so simple, but it makes sense. I'm already starting to think about all the systems I could put in place.
That's great. It's about consciously designing your environment and routines to support your goals. And the beauty of systems is that they can be customized to fit your individual needs and preferences.
Okay, so far we've covered mindset, visualization, keystone habits, and systems. This is already a lot to take in, but I have a feeling there's another piece to this puzzle. What else does the source dive into?
You're right. There's one more crucial element. Self-discipline.
Ah, self-discipline. The thing we all struggle with. I was hoping they'd magically reveal how to become a master of self-control.
Well, there's no magic bullet, unfortunately. But the source does offer a refreshing perspective on self-discipline.
Okay.
It frames it as a practice, a muscle that can be developed over time.
So it's not about being born with this mythical willpower. Anyone can develop it.
That's what the source suggests. And it emphasizes that discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up consistently, even when it's hard.
I like that framing. It takes the pressure off a bit.
Exactly. And they highlight a really important point. It's those small, consistent choices that compound over time and lead to significant changes. Think of it like compound interest. A small amount invested regularly can grow into something much larger down the line. The same principle applies to self-discipline.
Each small act of discipline is like a mini investment in our future selves.
Well said. And speaking of small acts, the source encourages starting small with self-discipline as well.
So instead of trying to go from 0 to hero overnight, we should focus on one small area where we can exert more discipline.
Exactly. It could be something as simple as committing to a 15-minute walk every day, or dedicating just 10 minutes each morning to planning your day.
I've heard of that 2-minute rule. If you're dreading a task, commit to doing it for just 2 minutes. Often once you get started, you'll keep going.
That's a great strategy. And it ties into the idea of building momentum. Once you start making those small, disciplined choices, it becomes easier to make more of them.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Mindset, visualization, keystone habits, systems, and even self-discipline. It's a lot to digest.
It is, and we've only just scratched the surface. But one of the key takeaways from this piece, and maybe the most important one, is that you don't have to wait for the perfect time to start working towards your reinvented self. The best time is now.
Right. There's no need to wait for January 1st to roll around. We still have these next few months to lay the groundwork.
Exactly.
It's easy to slip into that winding down mode, but these next few months are actually prime time to lay the foundation for an amazing year ahead.
It's like planting seeds. You might not see the sprouts immediately, but with consistent care and attention, those seeds will eventually blossom into something beautiful.
I love that analogy, and it ties back to what we were talking about earlier, self-discipline as a practice. It's not about overnight transformations. It's about those consistent efforts, those daily choices that add up over time.
Exactly. And remember, you don't have to do it all at once. Start small, focus on one thing, and build from there.
So as we wrap up this section on self-discipline, let's bring it back to our listeners. What's one small act of self-discipline you can choose today that will move you closer to that vision of your reinvented self?
It's a powerful question. Think about it. And remember, even the smallest step can set you on the path to incredible growth.
That's a great note to end on. But there's one more area we need to unpack. The source mentions something about personal agency. What's that all about?
Well, that's where we really get to the heart of reinvention.
We're back, and I'm still thinking about that self-discipline as a muscle thing. It's encouraging to think we can actually get better at this. Yeah.
Absolutely. And this piece offers some really great insights into how we can actually train that self-discipline muscle. One thing that really struck me was the emphasis on managing distractions.
Oh, yeah, distractions. They're everywhere these days, aren't they?
Right.
Social media, emails, breaking news. It feels like there's always something trying to pull our attention away from what we're actually trying to do.
It's true. We live in a world designed for distraction. But the first step, according to the source, is simply recognizing those distractions for what they are, obstacles to achieving our goals.
So awareness is key. But what do we do after we become aware of these distractions? How do we actually fight them off?
Well, the source doesn't offer like a step-by-step guide or anything, but it implies that there are strategies that we can implement to minimize the impact of these distractions.
Okay, so what are some of those strategies? I'm all ears.
Okay, well, think about your typical day. Where do you encounter the most distractions? For many people, it's their phone. Maybe turning off notifications during certain times could help, or setting specific work hours where you commit to focusing solely on your tasks.
Creating boundaries, right?
Exactly. And think about your physical environment. Is your workspace cluttered or filled with tempting distractions? Maybe clearing the clutter and creating a dedicated workspace free of those distractions could make a big difference.
I know. I work so much better when my desk is clean. It's like my mind is clear too.
There's definitely a connection there. The source also suggests exploring tools specifically designed to block certain websites or apps during designated times.
Oh, I've heard of those. I think my friend uses one to block social media while she's writing. It's like giving yourself permission to disconnect and focus.
And it's interesting because this piece doesn't just talk about forcing ourselves to do things we don't want to do. It also emphasizes aligning our actions with our values and goals.
So self-discipline isn't about deprivation. It's about making choices that truly align with what we want for ourselves.
That's a key point. When we're clear about our why, what truly matters to us, those seemingly difficult choices become a lot easier. Think about it this way. Are you more likely to hit snooze on your alarm if you know you're waking up to work on a project that you're passionate about? Or if you're dreading a task you find meaningless?
I know I'd spring out of bed for something I love. But even if we're working towards something we genuinely care about, there are still going to be moments where it's tough, right?
Absolutely. And that's where self-discipline comes in. It's about having the strength to choose the long-term goal over the immediate gratification, choosing to go for that run, even when your couch is calling your name, choosing to eat that healthy meal, even when there's a pizza tempting you.
It's about making choices that our future selves will thank us for.
Exactly. And every time we make that choice, even if it's hard, we're reinforcing our self-belief. We're proving to ourselves that we are capable of self-control, that we can follow through on our commitments.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together. The vision, the keystone habits, the systems, and now the self-discipline. It's like a recipe for creating lasting change. But the source reminds us that it's not about waiting for some magical moment to start this process.
You're right. Too often we fall into this trap of thinking, I'll start on Monday, or I'll wait until the new year. But there's no time like the present.
Especially because we still have a good chunk of the year left. It's easy to slip into that winding down mode. But these next few months are actually prime time to lay the foundation for an amazing year ahead.
It's like planting seeds. You might not see the sprouts immediately, but with consistent care and attention, those seeds will eventually blossom into something beautiful.
I love that analogy, and it ties back to what we were talking about earlier, self-discipline as a practice. It's not about overnight transformations. It's about those consistent efforts, those daily choices that add up over time.
Exactly. And remember, you don't have to do it all at once. Start small, focus on one thing, and build from there.
So as we wrap up this section on self-discipline, let's bring it back to you, our listener. What's one small act of self-discipline you can choose today that will move you closer to that vision of your reinvented self?
It's a powerful question. Think about it. And remember, even the smallest step can set you on the path to incredible growth.
That's a great note to end on, but there's one more area we need to unpack. The source mentioned something about personal agency. What's that all about?
Well, that's where we really get to the heart of reinvention.
We're back, and I'm really curious about this whole personal agency thing.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of academic, but I have a feeling it's actually a pretty powerful idea.
You're right. It's not just some abstract concept, this idea of personal agency. It's at the core of what it means to reinvent yourself. It's about recognizing that. You're not a passive passenger in your own life.
Okay.
You have the power to choose, to act, to shape your reality.
It's like taking the reins and steering your own ship, instead of just letting the current take you wherever.
Yeah, exactly. And that can be both exhilarating and a bit daunting. It's exciting to realize you have this potential, but it also comes with a sense of responsibility.
Because if you're the one in control, you can't blame anyone else if things don't go your way.
That's true. but it also means you're not limited by circumstances
Mm-hmm.
or other people's expectations. You have the power to create the life you desire, even if it takes time and effort, and maybe some course correction along the way.
So how does this idea of personal agency tie into everything else we've talked about? The visualization, the habits, the systems?
It's the underlying force that drives it all. Think about it. If you don't believe you have the power to change your life, why bother with visualizing a better future or building new habits?
It would all feel kind of pointless, right?
Exactly. But when you embrace this idea of personal agency, all those tools and strategies we've discussed become incredibly powerful. They're no longer just things you're supposed to do, they're actions you're taking because you believe in your ability to create change.
It's like a shift from I should to I choose.
I love that. And this source really emphasizes that reinvention. It's not a one-time event. It's a continuous process. It's about adopting a growth mindset, being open to learning and evolving, and adjusting your approach as needed.
So it's not about reaching some final destination. It's about the journey itself.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
And remember, this journey is yours and yours alone. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, not some idealized version of what you think you should be.
I'm really struck by how empowering this all is. It's like this source is giving us permission to take ownership of our lives and create something truly meaningful.
That's exactly what it's doing. It's a reminder that we all have this power within us to shape our destinies, to reinvent ourselves, not just for the new year, but for life.
And the best part is, it gives us these concrete tools and strategies to actually make this happen. It's not just motivational fluff. It's practical and actionable advice.
You're so right. This source doesn't just tell you what to do, it helps you start doing it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's bring it back to you, our listener. What one thing will you focus on to reinvent yourself before the year ends? Will you commit to that daily walk, start that journaling practice, or finally design that system to support your biggest goal?
Whatever it is, remember this. You have the power to create the life you desire. It starts with a single step, a single choice. Choose wisely, act boldly, and embrace the journey of becoming the best version of yourself.
And remember, we're here with you every step of the way. We'd love to hear about your reinvention journeys. Share your experiences, your challenges, your triumphs. Let's create a community of support and inspiration as we all navigate this path of personal growth.
Until next time, keep diving deep, keep learning, keep growing, and keep reinventing yourselves.